Hello, my name is Aiden Desai, and welcome back to another video for educators of Orange County. Today we are going to be continuing our last video and covering Unit 1 of Microeconomics. The topic we are covering today is called Absolute and Comparative Advantage. So, if you watched our last video, or you have already studied microeconomics, you should know that the PPC, also known as a Production Possibilities Curve, is an economic model that represents how much of two goods can be produced. So, it shows the opportunity cost of producing one good over the other. As you can see in the image, we can see that it is a bowed out curve and that it represents increasing opportunity costs. If you don't know what that means, then please watch our last video on microeconomics. So, why do we trade? Well, trade is mutually beneficial, otherwise we wouldn't be trading. So, trading allows nations and people to specialize. If one entity produces one good at a lower opportunity cost and trades with another entity that produces another good at a low opportunity cost, then they will both benefit from this trade. This is because they will not be experiencing the high opportunity cost with producing some other good. So let's say I am the United States of America. I can either produce guns or butter. If I have a low opportunity cost for producing guns and I want to trade because I have a high opportunity cost for producing butter, then I'll trade with a country that has the opposite. I'll trade with a country that has the opposite high opportunity cost with my low opportunity cost. That way we both benefit. And I'll continue on with that later to kind of expand on that point. So first of all, what is absolute advantage? Well, absolute advantage is really easy to keep track of. So it is just which nation can produce the most of a good when the resources they are given are kept constant. And comparative advantage is which nation can produce a good at a lower opportunity cost. So continue on with the point of comparative advantage. This is really important for economics. Absolute advantage will be tested less than comparative advantage, so make sure you are especially familiar with comparative advantage, especially because it is a little bit harder than absolute advantage. So an example of comparative advantage is, as you look below, Tim Cook is cleaning his house or hiring someone to do so. So Tim Cook is a multimillionaire, the CEO of Apple. His opportunity cost for cleaning his house is so great because he can be using his time to do something else that will be much more effective for him. So instead of cleaning his house himself, he will just hire someone to do it for him, as it has a lower opportunity cost. So now let's go on to the output method of comparative/absolute advantage analysis. So make sure you guys are familiar with the output method, and next we will be covering the input method. The output method is how much output a nation or a person can produce at one time given the same resources. Usually it is going to be a nation. So on a test they'll probably give you like Japan and Canada as I have here, United States. It doesn't really matter what the nation is. Or they can give you like a person, how much a person can produce, or a business, something like that. So as we look here, we have two nations, Japan and Canada. In these tables, you will always be given two different entities. And these entities will be able to produce two different products, only two. So you can see that Japan and Canada can either produce CDs or beef. So let's start off with the absolute advantage, as it's a lot easier to recognize. So absolute advantage is just how much that each nation can produce and which one can produce more given the same resources. So if we look at Japan, Japan can produce 4 CDs, Canada can produce 4 CDs. Well, they can produce the same exact amount of CDs given the same resources. So we say that they have neither one has an absolute advantage in production of CDs. If you look at the production of beef, Japan can produce 2 units of beef, and Canada can produce 6 units of beef. So Canada has an absolute advantage, as it can produce 3 times the amount of units of beef as Japan, given the same resources. So now let's go on to comparative advantage. And if you want to calculate comparative advantage, first you need to find the opportunity cost each nation has of producing each good. So if we want to find out for good A, which is CDs, Japan's opportunity cost is 2/4 or 1/2 unit of beef. So the opportunity cost of producing one good is always in terms of the opportunity cost of producing other. So the opportunity cost for Japan of producing a CD, one single CD, would be 1/2 units of beef. This is because Japan is giving up 1/2 units of beef in order to produce one CD. Likewise, for beef, we see that we can do 4 CDs divided by 2 units of beef. So Japan's opportunity cost is 2 units of CD. And for Canada, we see 6/4 for beef and 4/6 for CDs. So how do we use this to find comparative advantage? Well, it's pretty easy. So if we compare the good A, so for good A, Japan has an opportunity cost of 1/2, Canada's is 3/2. So which one has a lower opportunity cost? Well, Japan has a lower opportunity cost. So as a result, for good A, or CDs, Japan will have the comparative advantage because it is producing with the lower opportunity cost. If we look at B, for beef, we see that, well, this time Canada has a lower opportunity cost. So therefore, Canada has a comparative advantage because it can produce this good without giving up as much of the other good. So by specializing in these goods, Japan will specialize in CDs, Canada will specialize in beef. This is because they will be able to produce the most, and when they trade, they will be able to both mutually benefit from this. So now we're going to talk about the input method. This is different from the output method because instead of output method, which determines how much you can make, the input method requires how many resources you need to make one unit. So usually it is going to be in terms of hours, but it can be in terms of other units besides time as well. So if we look at the units of bread, which is good A, and units of corn, which is good B, for the United States, the opportunity cost for producing 1 unit of bread would be 4/2 units of corn. This is because for every 4 hours, in order to produce 1 unit of bread, you need 4 hours. In order to produce 1 unit of corn, you need 2 hours. So by producing 1 unit of corn, as we see, which takes 2 hours, right? 1 unit of corn, we are giving up the production of bread. And likewise for France, we see that the opportunity cost of producing bread is 4/6 units of corn. So by making 1 unit of bread, we are giving up 4/6 of a unit of corn. By producing 1 unit of corn, we're giving up 6/4 units of bread. One thing that you might have noticed, which is pretty important, and it makes it a lot easier for you guys, it's always going to be the inverse for good B. So for the United States, if we know the opportunity cost for bread is 2 units of corn, we just take the inverse, so 1 over the opportunity cost of that, and we get 1/2. So the opportunity cost of producing corn is 1/2. Also, if we look at the absolute advantage, we can see that neither one has an absolute advantage, for producing bread. This is because it takes the exact same amount of time for producing 1 unit of bread for both nations. So neither country will be able to produce more bread given the same resources. However, if we look at corn, we see that the United States can produce 1 unit of corn in 2 hours, while in France it takes 6 hours. So France takes triple the amount of time to produce 1 unit of corn. As a result, we know that it is much less efficient in France to produce 1 unit of corn than it is in the United States. So as a result, we can see that United States has an absolute advantage in production of corn. And for comparative advantage, we see that France has the comparative advantage for bread because France has a lower opportunity cost, and for corn, the United States will produce because it has a lower opportunity cost there. And these nations will both trade afterwards. After they specialize in the production of their single good, they'll start trading, and they'll both benefit from this agreement. Thank you guys for watching. Please consider subscribing and liking the video if you found it helpful. Please leave any comments if you have any questions, and I'll try to answer them. Thank you, and have a great day.